Hello, and welcome to Friday Nights Live at the Parish Art Museum. I'm Alicia Longwell. I'm the Louis B. and Dorothy Coleman Chief Curator here at the museum, and it's a pleasure to welcome you. Firstly, let me say thank you to our leading and sponsor for the presentations, and that is Bank of America. And we also want to thank our generous patrons, Sandy and Stephen Pearlbinder. Tonight's a special pleasure for me to be able to speak with Jaume Plensa, the esteemed artist born in Barcelona in 1955, where he maintains his home and studio to this day when not traveling the world. When not traveling the world for his projects. When the parish began to plan for reopening and welcome back our visitors in August after 4 months, almost 5 months of closure due to the coronavirus, our first thought was to have a welcoming atmosphere outside as well as inside where our visitors would be happy. And our thoughts turned to a really long-held ambition to activate the acres of meadow surrounding the museum. Topping everyone's wish list was the name Jaume Plensa. And we are deeply indebted to the Gray Gallery and Paul Gray for bringing us together. A dream deferred began to take shape when these sculptures, Carlotta, Julia, Laura Assia, and Wilsis arrived and began to be installed in the field of dreams. We'd like to show a brief trailer from a new documentary on Plensa's life, Can You Hear Me? The distinguished director, Pedro Ballesteros. At the end, and then Jaume and I will have a conversation. We'll show you the sculptures at the museum and talk about that a bit. And then throughout, you can go to the chat button at the bottom of your screen, ask a question, have a comment, or just maybe a shout out to Jaume. So Victor, if we could see the film now.
Que era un día que había una tormenta enorme, viento, lluvia, y justo cerca de donde yo estaba habían estos mástiles de madera donde atan las barcas. Y de pronto, en medio de aquel momento huracanado, pues un pájaro se posó en la punta de este mástil. Entendí que para mí aquello era la mejor imagen de escultura, un lugar al que siempre puedes volver. Yo creo que la escultura es la relación de lo material con lo inmaterial, de lo visible con lo invisible. Podría ser una imagen muy bonita de escultura cuando intentas coger agua con las manos, que se te escapa entre los dedos.
És que ja es comença a veure, I també has de mirar-lo que et quedin rectes, veus? Que tot té com un bony i aquí, tac, s'hauria de repassar.
Jo crec que com a mostra ja està superbé ara,
Sí, sí, està superbé, eh? Però bueno, hem de fer-ho millor.
Sí, clar.
Hòstia.
Llevo toda la vida intentando construir un lenguaje, un alfabeto, que me ayude a entender mejor el de los otros. Es la relación del mensaje y de la botella, mi mensaje. Pero sobre todo también construir una botella cada vez más sólida para que llegue lo más lejos posible. Yo que soy un niño del Mediterráneo, no sé nadar, no floto. Mi madre me llevó a aprender aquí y allá. No lo logré. Todos los niños del curso lo aprendían y yo nunca. Un día en Jerusalén me llevaron al Mar Muerto. Es el mar más profundo, 300 metros por debajo del nivel del mar. Y de pronto flotaba. Aquí estoy yo. Y entonces flotaba como un pez. Yo fui feliz en el Mar Muerto. Es de los lugares donde más feliz he sido. Flotando. Feliz. Porque me di cuenta que yo no había tenido ningún problema. Simplemente no me habían llevado al mar adecuado. Entonces, esto es una metáfora muy interesante para la creación también. Tú has de buscar el mar donde desarrollarte. Muévete un poco, desplázate, cambia el punto de vista, sueña otras posibilidades. Las cosas que nos rodean, las personas, los objetos, se duermen como los niños que se duermen de golpe en un coche. La escultura tiene esta capacidad enorme de volvernos a despertar. ¿Vale? Una comunidad, una sociedad necesita iluminar esta vida interior que nadie nos ha contado que teníamos. No es el exterior que ha de iluminar la creación. La creación tiene la obligación de iluminarnos.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
What is this?
What do you think?
Oh.
What is your opinion?
Me?
What do you think it means that?
I need Europe.
Sometimes, no?
Yeah.
People, we do that,
Oh, yeah?
that we don't like to see.
Oh, no. Beautiful. Nice. Nice. What's your name, sir?
My name?
Yeah.
Plensa.
Plensa. Yeah.
Wow. That's a beautiful film, Jaume. What an introduction to your work. It's wonderful.
wonderful.
We will soon have a link for everyone to that. It's been graciously offered to us for our audience to have a link to the entire film. So we'll have that. Now, Victor is going to give us a few images of the sculptures coming to the Field of Dreams and being installed. And then we can talk a little bit more about that and just more about your work. I have to say that the metaphor you used talking about a message in a bottle, and I couldn't help but think about the, thousands of miles of Atlantic Ocean that separated us from you in Barcelona and from the the parish, but how these beautiful sculptures came to us, almost like a message in a bottle. And when they are here and installed, I was going to ask you about what message that might be bringing to us through the forms of these beautiful young women.
Well, I have to say I'm Jaume Plensa first, and it's a beautiful opportunity to talk with you, Alicia, and to try to describe an exhibition that unfortunately I have not seen personally. I was dreaming in the way to install the pieces in a kind of circle. I guess you prepare some images that you will show soon.
Yes, that's coming.
And when people are arriving in the fields, the beautiful fields surrounding the main building, the museum, exactly, they found us 4 trunks that I've been carving with the faces, with the heads of 4 young women, Wilsis, Carlotta, Julia, and Laura, and girls coming from different areas. But all of them are, as you can see, with the eyes closed in a kind of dream state position. Well, you asked me about the message and the bottle. I guess for me, the most important message here is to try to invite the visitors to close their eyes and to try to look at in and to try to discover this amazing beauty that we have hidden inside ourselves always, and for many reasons, for education, because we never feel it's the right moment to talk about ourselves. I don't know, for many reasons, we never share with others. And I guess many times sculpture has this tremendous capacity, I guess, to invite others to share our, let's say, invisible secrets, invisible landscape, this amazing quantity of beauty that we are hiding inside ourselves.
They are, and I also couldn't help but think of these beautiful forms emerging really from the tree, the wood itself. Have you worked, and these are cast bronze, I'll just say that so everyone understands, and the original forms were tree trunks, oak tree trunk.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as you probably remember, many times I've been talking about why I'm trying to fix the face of people in one specific moment of their lives. Because when I finish to take the photos or to scan their heads, this person just gone. It does not exist anymore. Working with wood, you have the same feeling. The wood, when you are working wood, the wood is evolving, is changing, is making all these beautiful cracks because it's losing humidity and it's changing. Okay, when the piece has the cracks that I love, is in the exactly position, I just take a mold and I cast in bronze. Finally, very similar when I'm taking the picture of that person. I'm fixing the boot in one exactly moment, a specific moment. The boot continues to evolve and develop other shapes and other cracks and other positions. I kept all the wooden models in my studio. I have a pretty large collection of wood models.
You know, that's a frequently asked question. Will you ever show the wooden models themselves?
No, I never did it.
Yeah.
I've been working a lot with wood before to cast, with linden wood, for example, which was a very beautiful wood. Tuli, which is a very strong and hard wood from Cameroon, it does not float. A little bit like me, I feel identified with it. And cedar wood, for example. But suddenly I understood that wood is organic. It's something that it continues to move and evolve. And that was the moment I decided to really cast in bronze as an attitude, to say, look at that, the wood was in one moment as it is now. And the pieces that you have right now at the parish are in that spirit.
It's wonderful. Could we have some more slides, Victor? We're going to go on. Well, this is the diagram that you sent, or that was sent to us, as to how to place the the sculptures and how they, obviously the orientation, so the ways in which they not look directly at one another, but you wanted them to, and you wrote this, to be glancing at one another. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, actually,
The circle.
yeah, I did many times pieces which are composed by a group of elements, let's say.
Mhm.
I love a lot the idea of a group in conversation. I have many of my pieces titled conversation, or silent conversation, or conversation in knees, or whatever. I love this idea that we can exchange information in that way, even only just trying to be standing up together or nearby, because I guess we have so many different ways to communicate, not only with our voice, but with our vibrations. And when I like to imagine that those pieces in the Paris Museum, in the fields over there, are having a kind of silent conversation, even with or without visitors. Sometimes I'm dreaming to imagine the sculptors alone in the middle of the night, and which kind of conversations they could have between them when they are alone.
Okay, maybe Victor, maybe we'll just go through the slides now. There's some additional views, certainly the installation. And these came directly from the studio. They were made.
Yeah, exactly. I remember Paul Gray called me once that it was that possibility, and I had the piece almost finished at that moment. It was incredible.
Mhm.
It was an incredible fortune. Look at how beautiful. They did a great job in the installation, and I check in my studio that position before with
Yes.
my assistants, and I understood that that was the right way to install the piece. But it was difficult for me to imagine how beautiful it looks on top of this amazing lawn. It's just fantastic. I'm so happy.
Yes, and you had talked about, so this is in the grass, and then the distant view with the sod, and then the distant
But look
view.
at how beautiful is the relationship with the people
Yes.
walking nearby.
Yes.
I think it's a nice piece in that way for the visitor, because they are discovering the faces in the backside of the trunks. And I mean, I think it's quite a certain
You know, in museums,
interaction with.
we've conditioned people not to touch the sculpture, and you said, well, they might be able, they could touch it maybe, but hug it would be absolutely acceptable.
I remember, maybe you know, but years ago, I installed a very big sculpture in Des Moines in Iowa. It was a gift that the collector made to the city. And I remember they invited me for a talk. And I spent my talk talking about interaction. And finally, a lady said, Mr. Plensa, you were talking all the time about interaction, but near your sculpture is a display saying, please do not touch. How you justify that situation? And I said, well, the museum just missed the rest of the quote is, please do not touch, caress. Because I'm defending that with your fingers, you could find an extra information that many times is impossible with your eyes. I guess the temperature, how it is smooth, it's rough. I mean, I don't know. It's cold, it's warm. I mean, I'm from the Mediterranean, and many times I have to accept that my eyes are in my fingers, and I need to really verify the shape and the materials.
Well, this is you speak about the material becoming immaterial in that way.
That's amazing. I've been always defending that probably the most important things in life are invisible. But don't ask me why, but I guess a sculptor has a tremendous capacity to talk about that invisibility with physical elements. I guess this probably the very strong relationship between a sculptor and our body, it's because our body is like a container.
Yeah.
And it's a container fill up of energy, a soul, whatever you like to say. And a sculptor is very similar. When I'm using that example of the message and the bottle, is very similar as our body. Finally, people are just bottles trying to arrive as far as possible with a single message. And I guess that it's the beauty of humanity, it's the diversity of messages and bottles.
Of course. And you have most often, as you say, we're engaged in looking at the sculpture, but you have thought a lot about what is the piece itself looking at, what is the sculpture looking out and seeing as well.
What do you mean in that piece?
Yeah, with this piece, yes. That also that the sculpture is looking out at us as well in many senses.
Yeah, well, I have two main families in my work. I'm trying to go back in that direction. I'm working a lot with alphabets, as you know, and text, and with the portraits of young women in that way. But finally, I'm trying to catch the same, which is the concept of diversity. My work mainly is a celebration of life. I guess the rest, if it's in the same concept. For me, life, I think, is an incredible, an extraordinary ceremony, and we have to celebrate it permanently. Okay, when I'm talking about text, it's because our voice is the music of our body. And when we are writing down that text, those words, finally it's like a musician writing down the score of that music. Right. And that means the vibration of everything. Okay, portraits, text, everything for me is the same, is how well we are when we are together, but keeping our diversity. And that piece in the museum, I'm happy because it's not only talking about that diversity in the portraits, but this incredible beauty that we are coming from nature. This idea that the head is born from a trunk, I think it's very beautiful, because probably like Michelangelo was saying that the figure was inside the stone. Maybe I'm saying the same, that probably those portraits were inside the trunk, waiting the moment to be liberated, you know, and that I think is an incredible experience.
Well, you know, you're a classicist, Jaume, and the way you treat the figure in the form, and I couldn't help a way really going back to Greek mythology. Do you know the benevolent and compassionate goddesses that they sort of shapeshift? They come out of the trees, and that they are oak trees, but they appear as the dryads, and they help people, and then they shift back into the oak, and they are the legend. The myth is that they inhabit the oak trees.
Yes, that sounds nice.
I sort of love that idea that they emerge for us, and that they are indeed compassionate and benevolent. Yeah. As you see the light playing on the sculpture in all different times of the day, this is a wonderful image too. We have big skies here.
Yeah, it is.
The proximity to the water gives it a beautiful quality to the air and the light.
Well, that is something very interesting. I'm always curious to see what's happened with the patina in the end of the show, because every place are making the specific patina in one sculpture, as probably to live in one part of the wall or in another make us different. I think that a sculptor has this tremendous capacity also to collect this kind of subtle colors or these differences, thanks to the patina that it's getting in one specific place. I don't know. I mean, I don't know when the show will finish, but if it's several months, I'm sure that the piece will change and will be more and more connected with Paris and with this area.
Right, right. They'll just have to stay. When you mentioned the work that you've done with letters and text and words, there's a beautiful, beautiful example of that in New York. I'm sure many people have seen that in the city of 30 Hudson Yards. Yeah. Extraordinary installation, which is further documented in the film as well.
Yeah, it was a very beautiful experience. I've been invited to do the lobby of the 30 Hudson Yards, and immediately I was thinking about spheres, because probably it's the most perfect geometrical form, but composed by a certain number of characters and alphabets, trying to celebrate the beauty of that language that we were talking before. It's a silent conversation between all the people passing every day, every morning, every afternoon, in between my spheres. And it seems that they are changing because it's two different levels in the lobby, but using the escalators that they are flying across the planets. I love to be there and to watch what people are doing in between. I think it's a very beautiful piece, and I'm happy that in this short trailer you can see one little moment of the construction of the pieces in my studio.
Right, right. And also the silent head at Rockefeller Center. I loved your conversation with the vendor who looked at it a lot, right?
I thought it was fantastic. It was fantastic because in the piece Behind the Walls, and that piece I was trying to talk about the problem that people, or we love to talk about walls and walls and walls, but the first and main walls are our hands when we are trying to blind ourselves in front of problems in our society on our world. And it's a very simple and tender piece because it's based in the tradition just to blind ourselves, our eyes. But it was beautiful because installed at the Fifth Avenue in front of the Rockefeller Center, people were immediately playing with, taking not only pictures, but trying to make the different positions of the other tree, you know. And the two vendors that every afternoon at 7 o'clock they arrived with the food truck selling their food, and they were just so lovely people and trying to understand each other because we don't speak normal English, and our English is very exotic, I know, and it was so beautiful and tender.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a beautiful moment in many beautiful moments in the film. You're primarily known as a sculptor. Is there other work that you do for?
Well, actually, I'm normally making drawings. I love the drawing as the base of everything. Sculptor, as you know, has a very long process, and you need a certain team all around. Instead, then with the drawings, you can really immediately work in a very direct way. Well, the Crown Fountain, it's mainly video, also involved with a certain architecture. I've been working a lot in opera. I love music and opera.
Oh.
And, stage design and opera. Well, I don't know. I think I have many directions, but it's true that sculptor, for some reasons, it's the main thing. I don't know. In the documentary, you can see myself embracing one piece. I guess volume for me, it's the most natural way to get a relationship with the others. I love people in general. I love the humanity in the way that is something that we say human beings or people, but everyone is unique and single. And that it makes me crazy because it's so complex, but at the same time so simple. And the best way for me to talk about it is with one object, with one sculpture that has this tremendous and incredible relationship with the divinity, with the godness. We are fabricating with our hands something physical to talk about abstraction. Mm-hmm. And that is crazy. This kind of contradiction, for me, is amazing.
Well, it's probably one of the earliest instincts of man to build, make a form in his own image.
Absolutely.
And then imbue it with certain powers beyond what he had when they make an image. Yeah. No,
I remember when I become more well-known internationally, it was with my work with cast iron. And at that time I was living in Berlin, and I remember that for me the obsession of cast iron was because it was a very strong link with the moment that the world was born. If you do a hole in the earth and you cast iron in and gets coal, you have an object already. And that was the moment that the mountains becomes something, no? Because everything was a liquid, and when this liquid was cold, boom. But that is a sculpture. And the vibration of materials, we are talking again about the sculpture. For me, sculpture is not only an aesthetic attitude or a plastic, a visual art thing. I guess sculpture is in a certain way an attitude.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the Crown Fountain in Chicago. This is the tall structure with the video the video of faces and the water that comes out of the mouth, which you have likened to.
Well, you know, in my childhood in Barcelona, I remember with my mother to walk a lot to the Gothic area, and I was always fascinated with the gargoyles. Spitting water for the mouth. In Central Europe, always traveling there with the fountains with grotesque faces spitting water from their mouth. And I wanted absolutely to return the gargoyle to the public space, but with real people, because I guess the real people is the center, is the subject, is the soul of one city. We normally talk about architecture, but people, I think, is the real thing. And we filmed 1,000 faces of people. I asked the help of the School of the Art Institute, which is amazing in technology. And they helped me to manage all this quantity of information. And with the help of the Crown family, we finally did transform that dream into reality. And it was, I guess, fantastic, because when you see the kids walking on the water, the two let's say transparent buildings fill it up with people exchanging information, a conversation, is putting water from their mouth because it's a celebration of life. I'll give you life from my mouth. I think, well, every time I'm arriving in Chicago, I'm going there to see if the piece still exists, because I guess it's a miracle.
It is. I would love to see that. I haven't been to Chicago in a long time. It's absolutely an extraordinary piece. Jaume, I know Spain, like the US, has been through a very hard period. We're not out of it yet. Were you able to keep working during this period of the coronavirus? And
sure. Well, I mean, the main thing for me is that I could not travel. Yeah. And I love this part of my life, traveling permanently. And this year, for many reasons, we had several installations. For me, an art piece is not only the fabrication in my studios, not only the moment that I conceive the piece. For me, it's the moment that we pack the piece, we put in the container, we install. Everything is part of this amazing history of one sculpture or one piece. And I'm missing all the part of the installation of pieces that we are doing this year without me. And I'm learning something else. No, I mean, it's strange that they are installing my work without me. But I mean, probably they are doing better than I mean, you know, many times, you know. And we did many things, and the Paris is a good example. They did so well. I'm so fascinated.
The sculptures were, you know, beautifully made. The pins, I guess everyone see the pins that go into the bases and everything. Yeah,
but you know, I love to fight with the installers. I love. I think it's fantastic. It gives you so much energy to fight with them, and I miss a lot this part.
So who wins? Are you always right? Or they?
Doesn't matter.
I was incredibly touched in the film, and there was a bit in the trailer, but more in the larger film, about you talking about growing up by the sea and never learning to swim. And then finding your sea.
it was a shame for me because my mother was trying and trying and trying and was not working at all. And I remember in a period of my life that I was going very often to Israel. I remember one day my friends in Jerusalem took me to the Dead Sea. I'd never been there before. Unbelievable, unforgettable. I was floating finally. and I was the happiest man in the world. And suddenly I understood that it was not my mistake. It was that I never found the right sea for me, which I think many times you met people that they are just fighting in a corner, but in the wrong corner. And they have plenty of capacities, but not in the right stage. And I guess that was my problem with the sea. And now I'm an incredible swimmer, but at the Dead Sea.
I think you should make T-shirts of the stick you drew of the happy. You know, every kid should know that's a good lesson. You just have to find your sea, you know, to float.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Today I gave a piece to one hospital in Barcelona, just to give a certain energy to doctors and nurses, but also to the sick people going there. I think art is important in hospitals because it has a tremendous capacity to give energy. I don't know. And we were talking with the doctors there, and I said I never need a psychiatrist working, because art has this tremendous capacity to transform all your ghosts into subjects of work. And it was a psychiatrist there and said, but Jaume, and I need to work, I need clients. I said, don't worry. I mean,
your art is your therapy.
No, but you probably agree that art has an incredible capacity to transform reality, even if, I don't know, any kind of art, because it could be more social or more, I don't know, photography, video, doesn't matter, music. And I guess hospitals, in a moment as today, in the pandemic time, things like that, it's amazing if they have this capacity to transform a little bit the architecture with artwork.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Well, I knew this would be fun. Wonderful. You're a sterling conversationalist, and you're so revealing about your life and your art. Just a thrill. I think we have some questions. Shall we see? I will see what our audience has written. We have a very good group online watching us, almost 100 people. So someone has asked about, and I think we see it in the film, are the portraits come from a photo? Do you photograph the young women? And do you know them, or how does that come about?
Well, I have all possibilities. I mean, normally I'm scanning the head. It's not only a portrait, but a scanning. And with that scan, I could work in my computer with all the 3D lines and all the 3D shapes, and I could manipulate more or less the proportions, which is one of the things. As you know, I'm elongating the heads in some way, because I guess you transform material in something much more spiritual, becomes like a flame. But all portraits are coming from real people. And many times you find a person, and then I ask the permission to her parents to come to the studio, and they come. We spend a beautiful Saturday morning because they have not to school, and I take the photos. Normally, I guess I have around 40 in my portrait gallery, 40 or 42 portraits already done since I finished the Crown Fountain, which was in 2004. I'm working since the last 16 years in that kind of concept, alphabets and portraits.
Here's someone who hails from Toronto, who is thrilled to welcome your spectacular new work, Dreaming.
Yeah, that's right. That is another of the installations that I miss myself. But I'm very pleased because I guess looks terrific. They installed it was a piece that is in Toronto since a couple of years, but for many reasons, because they started the construction of another building nearby, and they prefer to wait a little bit. And I don't know, 3 weeks ago they finally installed the piece. I guess in York Street or nearby, and the piece looks amazing. When they sent me pictures, it was unbelievable. Oh God, it was amazing. And it's a piece called Dreaming. And that was the reason I was so happy when the parish sent me the title of the show, because it's this Fields of Dreaming. Because it's very near of my concepts of art. I think we have this amazing capacity to dream, and that makes us completely different. Many times I compare myself or humanity with birds, because they said that birds are born on earth but with the capacity to fly.
Yes.
And I guess people is the same. People, with our dreams we can fly, and this idea that to soar with our ideas, I think is amazing. And my work, it's always following this idea to try to send a message of hope, to trust on ourselves, to be sure about that we are not perfect. I know actually, but even with our imperfection, we can illuminate life. And I think that it's very important.
The being confined to home, and we have a small patio here where I live, so we could be outside, and I discovered a bird's nest in a plant.
Really?
In a plant stand. So every time I walked by, it was tiny, some kind of little wren, but I can't tell you what an experience it was. Everything sort of slowed down there in March and April. You could stop and notice something. I could have been, not even noticed the little nest which was buried in the plant. And it was so moving to watch that progress and see them born, and everybody flew away eventually. But there was that moment in this difficult spring where you realize life slowed down. You notice birds around you, and there they flew away. Let me see. We have another. Now here's someone who says, any influence derived from the statues of Easter Island in the sense of the form of these works, seen from a distance,
Yeah, well, I think they were dreaming in the same direction as I'm dreaming. I mean, that it's funny because when I've been developing this idea of heads, many people ask me about the heads of Buddhas or the Olmeca culture, that they did this kind of big heads. You probably remember. When I elongate the heads, the Easter culture. Okay, I mean, of course, probably, I'm sure. I've been absorbing during my life everything. I still remember my father was a very, very big lecturer. And with him, I remember to walk in the second-hand markets. He loved the old books. And when he was trying to choose the novels that he liked, I was just paying attention about the cover of many books. And the covers the books that fascinate me was Egyptian art, Etruscan art, all these kind of very, let's say, archaic positions, And I guess I'm still keeping that thing in my work. The crown fountain, if you look at, finally, is very archaic, the position of those faces. And the pieces that you have at Parish, this idea of almost totems, almost this elongation that is trying to link heaven and hell, as William Blake was talking about it. This idea of bridges between physical and immaterial things. Okay, it's true. I love archaic art and archaic culture, African sculpture. I love the Easter pieces. The Moais probably are there.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Deborah. That was a great segue. Do you always use the same 4 women as your models? Who is Vilsits?
Wait, the same person?
Do you use the same models again?
No. Everyone is different. But it's true that when you do the elongation, they get similarity, in the form, but no, they are all different people.
Okay, from Sarah Stewart. Jaume, so good to hear this. Thank you. We will always remember your exhibition last fall at the Ross Gallery, University of Pennsylvania.
Thank you.
Your fans are legion. Let's see. Cecilia asks, what artists inspire you? Is Modigliani one of them?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Many probably. I don't know, but I mentioned many times that the source of my information was since the beginning poetry, and I've been very strongly influenced by poets. I told you William Blake, Shakespeare with Macbeth, for example, because Macbeth is an incredible good example of a sculpture. When he understands that he doesn't kill a king, he killed the possibility to sleep. And that is amazing, because through a physical thing, he just touched the abstraction. Okay. William Carlos Williams, Charles Baudelaire, Dante Alighieri, Goethe, I don't know, it's a plenty of, but in one moment I said the four legs of my table were Shakespeare, Blake, Dante, and Baudelaire.
A very steady table. It's interesting that you mentioned William Carlos Williams, who wrote this incredible.
It's not so well known in my country, I have
Right.
to say. And I discovered William Carlos Williams in Dallas in a second-hand bookstore because the cover, I felt it was a so nice man in one cover, and it was smiling. And I said, well, a poet smiling is so rare. No, normally they are so serious always, and looks unhappy. And I felt completely fascinated with his face.
Yes.
But Mamma Mia, the text is just unbelievable. I love this poet, honestly. And congratulations, because the Nobel Award it's for a poet called Gluck. It's yesterday they give the Nobel Prize.
Yes, to Gluck, yes. But Carlos Williams was very influential on a group of the American poets at the mid-century. It was always sort of a circle also around the artists, Fairfield Porter, like Frank O'Hara, the image.
I guess he was a doctor also. No?
He was a doctor. His mother
beauty.
was Puerto Rican, and he wrote his poetry, but he was a big influence on a painter named Fairfield Porter, which we have an exhibition now, and that was very Carlos Williams always said, no ideas, but in things. It was the reality that
That's nice.
drew him in. Yeah. Let's see what else we have here. There's quite a few people in our chat. Enjoying your presentation. We can assure you, Jaume, that the Crown Fountain is fine. Enjoying your presentation, Jack and Sandy.
Yeah, they were one of the people involved in the project. It was very beautiful, because when they are very close friends now, because Jack and Sandy helped me a lot in the beginning. To do one of those incredible pieces, you need some angels to protect you.
Yes.
And Jack and Sandy were my angels in Chicago.
So interesting. Someone wants to know, is there a dream project that you've been wanting to make but haven't been able to realize?
No, I mean, I have not this kind of dreams. I mean, I love to have commissions, because every commission is like in the beginning a kind of nightmare. And then when you find the answer for the specific question, it's just beautiful. And this year, for example, I finished that fantastic piece called Utopia for Grand Rapids, for the Mayor Sculptor Garden. Oh. And they are finally installed, and it's a piece, 400 tons of marble. That is completely crazy, honestly. And to know that they accepted this challenge to really, we spent 2 years carving marble. But I really invite you next year to go together. We can go together to see the piece next year, because it will be unforgettable. Or the piece in Toronto, we spent several years. Today we are installing a piece in Century City that we spent almost 3 years in Century City in LA.
Yeah.
And I could not be there, but we follow, thanks to Paul Gray and other people, that they are sending me photos, or we can see by a webcam camera, or I don't know. We are soon installing a piece in Newport in front of the Manhattan, and we are still working to finish. I mean, I think I have so beautiful projects and surrounded by so beautiful people that I don't need to imagine something else. I mean, you know.
Here's another Chicagoan, a big hello.
Oh, I lost your voice. Okay.
Oh, yeah, Julie Gustafson in Chicago.
Okay.
Your beautiful work is beloved and celebrated here. Thank you. My question is there a particular place or city in the world that you would love to host one of your works, to have it there? Another city?
I don't know. I have sculptures from Tokyo to New York. I don't know. I mean, I guess the city that could choose me is the city in where I want to wash my piece.
I hear you. I hear you. Oh, this is wonderful. Your fans are legion from around the world. Is there one dream project that never came to be that might still happen that you've been thinking of for a long time?
No. My dreams are not related to my work. My dreams are related to society and politicians. I'm really dreaming that it's not more hungry people in the world, or diseases, or the problem with immigration. That my dreams are that. My work, it's so simple. I'm a happy artist, honestly, but as a person, I'm suffering a little bit our crazy world sometimes, and my dreams are that.
Well, on that note, it is your art that keeps us whole. Thank you, Jaume.
Thank you, Alicia. It was really beautiful.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Thank you all. And I want to thank our sponsors, Bank of America, for once again enabling us to be together on Friday nights. There's something every Friday. And please tune in and go to our website and
thank you.
Check us out. Thank you, dear. Leave.